Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back for another Pokemon Competitive League Challenge showdown battle between two of the gym leaders over on the Discord server. First things first, I just want to say that the rules for the server, I'm not going to go over them in this video. Of course, we already had the first of these battles to go up on the channel. We did explain the rules there, so if you want, just check that out. There will be one of those little circular icon thingies that YouTube provides. So click on that, and that'll send you to the video, and I'll break down the rules there. So this battle is going to be between, like I said, two of the gym leaders over on the server. It's going to be between the fighting and the grass gyms, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, very good battle. But without further ado, let's just go over their rosters real quick. First things first. So, oh no, there is one thing I need to say. Yeah, link to the server, by the way, if you guys want to join, down in the description. Come have some fun. Let's have some battles. We actually had our first challenger go up. I'll be uploading a battle against him actually kind of soon. Although he's now one of our gym leaders. He's our ice type gym leader. But more about that in a future episode. For right now, we are going to just be going over the fighting and grass type gym. So, like I said, just join the server. Let's see if you can beat us. But anyways. The fighting type roster is as follows. You have Conkeldurr, Pangoro, Poliwrath, Kommo-o, Sirfetch'd, Machamp, Hawlucha, Blaziken, Breloom, Heracross, Toxicroak, yeah, that's Toxicroak, Hariyama, and then the bonus 4 down here, down these things, you have Galvantula, Hatren, Pelipper, and Porygon Z. So very, very well-rounded team. Only thing I say is I don't really see any answers for flying types. I mean, I'm assuming that's why the Galvantula is there, as well as Sticky Webs for that kind of support, but no real answer to flying types, but I'm not even sure if there is one. Is there any fighting type that deals well with flying types? I don't think there is, right? And you have, of course, the Pangoro to deal with psychic types. You have the Hatren as well for that resistance. Very well balanced, and in fact, the Galvantula as well for that super effective damage. Very well balanced team. Good amount of sweepers. Good amount of just Pokemons that can take a hit and, riposte, I guess is the word I'm looking for there. Very, very interesting team. Also, the Pelipper. Note the Pelipper. I'm sure it's here to support the Poliwrath. The Poliwrath does get Swift Swim, of course, so. He has that added, between the Pelipper and the Galvantula even, because Galvantula also gets Thunder, he has that added, what's the word I'm looking for? Rain team component. But then the Grass-type gym has, there we go, Torterra, Abomasnow, Rillaboom, of course, Ludicolo, Cradily, Whimsicott, Sawsbuck, Trevenant, Shiftry, what's that thing? Amoonguss, Blossom, and Ferrothorn as their main 12. And then they have what is that? Dracovish. That's Dracovish. And the Dracovish Chandelure up here, Dracovish Chandelure, Bronzong, and Politoed as their bonus 4. Another very, very, very interesting, very well-rounded team. Again, a good amount of offensive and defensive Pokemon. Grass type is known primarily for its defensiveness, but like that Amoonguss Ferrothorn core could be a real problem for a lot of teams, and the Trevenant is just there to help couple that, I'd imagine. You have the Rillaboom, of course, to set up the Grassy Surge, and the Politoed, the Politoed, which of course against fire types helps a lot. You have the Chandelure with Flash Fire as well for that, and the Politoed having Drizzle, of course, same as the Pelipper, and then you have the Ludicolo, so same as the fighting type gym, does have the Poliwrath for the rain potential. The Grass-type gym does have that Ludicolo for the rain potential. So again, two very interesting, very well-rounded teams. I like this a lot. Now, again, I'm going to start with the Challenger, which was the fighting-type gym, and then I'll talk about the Grass-type gym. So as the fighting-type gym, looking at this, what I expect? Personally, looking at first things first, the bonus 4, I would expect the Chandelure, because it, of course, resists your stab, right? Your fighting-type stab. What else? Maybe the Politoed, although I personally wouldn't bring the Politoed simply because there is already, your opponent's already doing the rain component, and even though they do have a Blaziken, most of their team, I guess most of the team can bring Fire Punch, actually, so having the Politoed is not irrelevant. And I suppose if you're afraid to the Grass-type gym is quite slow. That's one thing to note. I do see the potential here definitely for a Trick Room team. For example, with the Bronzong and the Trevenant. But aside from that Whimsicott, which has priority, I don't really see anything that really wants to outspeed at all. That Ferrothorn being ridiculous, like just a lot of her team or this team being very, very slow. Not that that's a problem necessarily, but personally, as of the fighting type gym, to me that would scream, okay, she's probably bringing a Scarfed Chandelure. So what else? I guess you have the Politoed, which I've mentioned. You have the Politoed, as I've mentioned, that like she could bring, but not that bulky. Kind of like plays into the whole rain thing that the fighting team is doing, but it would counter Fire Punch, so that is a consideration. Other than that, though, I mean, she's not bringing the Cradilly, she's not bringing the Sawsbuck, she's not bringing the Shiftry, but she's probably bringing the Trevenant for that immunity again. Probably bringing the Amoonguss, I would expect, again, for that immunity. It's kind of unfortunate that they can't bring the Cradily, because that means they don't really have an answer for flying-type moves, which to me, as the fighting-type gym, would immediately shout, okay, Hawlucha is a must. Hawlucha is definitely a must. The Heracross is also really interesting, as it does hit pretty much everything except the Trevenant, except the defensive Pokemon for super effective damage, and it does allow... Well, I mean, I guess they probably can't also bring the Ferrothorn because it's weak to fighting, right? Now, to me, I personally think, okay, Hawlucha and Heracross are a must. Not bringing the Poliwrath because it is a water type. Maybe the Breloom, definitely the Blaziken, definitely the Blaziken because it is a fire type. So Blaziken, Heracross, and Hawlucha are definitely there. Now, the Toxicroak I would want to bring as well, as it is a poison type and matches up quite nicely. And aside from that, there's an argument to be made that if she brings a Dracovish, you probably want to have your Komodo. But I feel like your team can deal with her team just fine if they don't, so that's whatever. And then down here you have the Galvantula, which, no point. I mean, it's a bug type, to be fair. There's definitely something to consider that it is a bug type. Could definitely be very useful. The Pelipper is a flying type as well, which is definitely worth, again, considering. But that being said, I personally don't think I would, just because they do have a reasonable amount of answers to it, and again, it would just play into the other team's rain. Just doesn't really feel like that's something necessarily we want to be doing, but I could be wrong. The Pelipper does also have the ability to carry Ice Beam for that Torterra, although, let me do some quick maths. I feel like Ice Beam and Hurricane actually do the same amount of damage to Torterra, like, because Ice Beam is base 90, Hurricane's base 120, so 90 times 2, then times... No, what am I saying? Of course, 90 times 2, then times 2 again, and then Hurricane is 120 goes to 180 with Stab. Yeah, it's the same amount of damage. So you can just have Hurricane for everything on the team. So yeah, probably Galvantula and Pelipper, and then Hawlucha, Blaziken, Toxicroak, and Heracross would be the 6 Pokemon I'd go with there. Covers all the bases really well. Now, as the Grass team, how do you counter that? Well, a defensive Torterra is a possibility. Taking a hit and earthquaking, for example, that Blaziken and that Toxicroak. As much as bringing the Cradily seems unwise, it would be tempting. I would definitely want the Amoonguss. For sure, I would want the Amoonguss. It resists. It definitely resists. It's fat. It has Regenerator. Maybe the Trevenant, maybe, but like the Trevenant doesn't do that well against the Blaziken. Although it does, or the Hawlucha for that matter, although it does really well against the Toxicroak and the Heracross. So arguably the Trevenant, but I feel like Amoonguss is probably better. And like I said, you definitely want the Chandelure here. Personally, I'd probably also bring the Bronzong. Try to get Trick Room going, do some Zen headbutting and stuff. Psychic type is not a bad idea, given they are all fighting types on the other side. What else? The Rillaboom is always fun to bring because of the grassy terrain, right? Not sure I necessarily do it in this circumstance. And like I said, if you're worried about outspeeding, then definitely bring the Rain with the Ludicolo. Yeah, it's kind of, honestly, it's a very tricky matchup here for the Grass Gym. But, oh yeah, and of course the Whimsicott. Always bring the Whimsicott. It's a fairy type after all. You can Moonblast things to death and whatnot. So I guess with all that being said, I'd probably go either Torterra or Rillaboom, one of the two. Then Ludicolo and Politoed, or Ludicolo, or scratch the Ludicolo and bring Bronze. See, this is really hard. What would I actually do? Let me see. Definitely bringing the Whimsicott. Definitely bringing the Amoonguss. Um, what else? What else? Bronzong and Chandelure. So I definitely go with those four. And then those last two slots are kind of up for grabs. I'd probably end up going with the Torterra for that defensive bulk, like I mentioned. Probably an Assault Vest Torterra, honestly. Although, that is one thing I just noticed. The Fighting type gym doesn't have a single special attacker outside of its secondary roster. So definitely going with a physically defensive Torterra is not a bad idea, just to be able to take some hits a little better. And wow, that is actually something very interesting. He doesn't have a single special attacker in amongst his fighting types. I wonder if there even is any special fighting type. Don't know. Lucario, I guess? Don't really know. But yeah, these guys down here as well. Like if he does bring the Galvantula, for example, you do want a Torterra. Well, no, not really. I guess if he brings a Galvantula, you kind of want something that can outspeed more so. I honestly might bring the Shiftry just for the priority, although dark priority against fighting types is kind of pointless. Yeah, I'm not sure. I guess the Torterra and the Ludicolo or the Rillaboom. Or honestly, just bring it. Actually, no. You know what? No. I'd bring the Torterra, the Trevenant, and the Amoonguss. I'd bring three defensive Pokemon there. And then I'd bring the Whimsicott. I'd bring the Rillaboom for that Grassy Surge. Well, no, sorry, hang on. That's already four Pokemon, right? Torterra, Whimsicott, Amoonguss, Trevenant. Then I'd bring the Bronzong and the Chandelure. There we go. I've managed to sort out my thoughts. And then you can have Trick Room on the Bronzong, and then your Torterra outspeeds. Could be interesting. Your Amoonguss outspeeds, your Trevenant outspeeds. Trevenant gets Will-O-Wisp, it gets Rest. Could be a good time. Although I actually, thinking about it, now that since he does have that Blaziken, bringing the Politoed could be interesting as well. Very, a lot of options over here on the grass team. It's hard to make a solid read on what they would do. But personally, that's what I would do then. I would bring the Torterra, Trevenant, and Amoonguss, all of them very defensive. Then the Whimsicott for stuff maybe like Tailwind even. You could do both, Tailwind and Trick Room. It is possible to do both. And then with the Moonblast, of course, and stuff, and then just the Bronzong and the Chandelure in the back, or as the bonus tier. I think that's how I'd go about it. But anyways, on that note, guys, yeah, let's get this battle started. Let's see what they're doing. All right, guys, so we're here. In the end, so these are the rosters coming into this battle. Again, kind of like relatively predicted. Like they both have many different options that they could bring, right? They had a lot of different stuff they could do, and it all kind of worked out. So on the fighting side, we have the Hawlucha, Toxicroak, what's it called? Pelipper, Blaziken, Surfetch'd, and Heracross. So of these six, I didn't consider the Surfetch'd as a possibility, but now that I think about it, it does get Brave Bird, so it kind of makes sense that he would bring it. Personally, I think there was other things he could have brought that I wouldn't say made more sense, but that I would have just personally expected. But this works, like the Surfetch'd definitely with Brave Bird actually seems pretty good there. And it deals well with I'm sure it gets knockoff as well, right? So it deals well with the Chandelure. So that's definitely a reason to bring it. Then on the grass side, they did bring the rain. Both sides even brought the rain, which is quite interesting to me. Although the fighting gym did not bring the Poliwrath. It brought the Pelipper, but did not bring the Poliwrath. So I guess it brought it just as a flying type. In which case, I personally would have brought the what was it? What was it? What was it? One of his other four. God damn it! Hang on. Yeah. Sorry, he had a Galvantula. Personally, I would have brought the Galvantula over the Pelipper, but fair enough. And yeah, the Grass Gym does bring the Politoed, the Chandelure, the Ludicolo, the Rillaboom, the Whimsicott, and the Torterra. So no defensive core here, which is to me quite interesting. I mean, I definitely understand they're trying to overpower the fighting types. Fighting types don't necessarily have the best defenses. But seeing that the entire fighting roster is physical, personally, I would have brought a couple physically defensive Pokemon just to have. It's never a bad idea. Chandelure makes perfect sense. We expected that. The Rillaboom was up for grabs, but I totally get it. The Ludicolo and the Politoed, they brought those two instead of bringing defensive Mons, basically. And I guess that's just because they're trying to outspeed and win the game that way, which, again, fair enough. And then Whimsicott and Torterra, as expected. So without further ado, let's get into this battle. And and see what happens here. So they lead Pelipper and Politoed. Politoed goes for Hidden Power, revealing it does have something in store for this Pelipper, presumably. Let me pause 1 second. Presumably that's Hidden Power Electric, although I'm surprised how little damage that did if it is, so maybe this is an Assault Vest Pelipper. That's really the only way I see that that wouldn't have done more damage, is if that is Hidden Power Electric from this... Oh, sorry, if it is Hidden Power Electric, that's the only way I see that not doing that much, like, that doing so little damage to the Pelipper, is if it is Assault Vest Pelipper. But if it's Hidden Power Rock, I'd be very surprised, since it is the fighting gym, and Rock resists fighting, right? Although she can probably figure, I'm not going to go for anything other than Scald against the fighting gym anyways, so I don't need... I may as well give a Hidden Power Rock for example, the Galvantula, which would actually make a lot of sense, but then again, yeah, because then Hidden Power Electric wouldn't anymore. But the Hurricane does confuse the Politoed, which is most important, as it breaks through, luckily, allowing the Pelipper then to just U-turn out, hoping on the confusion, I'm assuming, but into this Toxicroak. So the Toxicroak does go for Swords Dance, predicting that switch or that just the thing couldn't do much. But the Drain Punch barely does anything to the Torterra, which just destroys it with Earthquake. So, you know, that so far so good, kind of as expected, right? Here, interesting swap to the Chandelure. If the what's it called, the Surfetch does predict a swap and does go for a Brave Bird or a knockoff, then the Chandelure is actually kind of in a rough spot and probably does just go down. But instead it goes for the First Impression. Ah, that's another reason to bring that. Very clever. That's another reason to bring the Surfetch. It does get First Impression, it would seem, which I was actually not aware of. So having First Impression against the Bug-type gym, the Grass-type gym, makes absolute perfect sense in case it's all out. The Chandelure does go for just a Shadow Ball, while the Surfetch reveals the Brave Bird and nearly takes itself out on that recoil damage. But then swaps it to Chandelure, which I thought, to me, that just screams that it's a Scarf. Pause. Hang on. So here, they swap out to the Heracross on the Chandelure, which to me shouts, absolutely just screams that this is, in fact, a Scarfed Heracross. But even if it, yeah, because the Chandelure, I believe, has revealed, no, it has not revealed an item. So, interesting that you would go out to the Heracross there, and also interesting that the Chandelure swaps out. Not really sure why, because at this point I am assuming it is, in fact, a Scarfed Chandelure. Heracross also reveals Facade, which to me is also interesting. The skull does not burn, however. And I don't know what item this thing has at this point, clearly not Scarfed. So the Grass Gym just goes back into the Chandelure, Shadow Balls it to death. Presumably this is a Scarfed Chandelure, although we don't have any proof of that, of course. Here just keeps going for some more Shadow Balls. Might I add, very surprising to me that the Chandelure is not going for Psychics. Chandelure does get Psychics, so I would have expected Psychics here, which would have OHKO'd the Blaziken, I imagine. The Blaziken goes for Swords Dance, taking advantage of its speed boost to try to outspeed the following turn, but here the Chandelure does confirm its Scarf, taking out the Blaziken. So far, literally the first time I watched this battle, I just said, at this point I said out loud, okay, so the Grass-type gym wins. And then this whole Lucha comes in. It takes a Shadow Ball, takes a buttload of damage, but then Sky Attack just knocks out the Chandelure. And it is, of course, unburdened. And without the rain, Acrobatics just takes out the Ludicolo. Yeah, the Rillaboom tries to take a hit, but it's not Grassy Seed Rillaboom, so Acrobatics kills it as well. The Whimsicott, here's an interesting thing. The Whimsicott goes for Protect. The Hawlucha goes for Poison Jab. Whimsicott goes for Substitute. It's just an annoying Whimsicott, clearly, right? Which also, I mean, because it has Substitute, I'm assuming it's not Focus Sash, right? And the Whimsicott goes for Protect. Still not at max health, though. Goes for Protect again, gets it again. Just stalling out, I don't really know why. Nothing really that can happen, but then it just accepts its defeat, its demise, and yeah, it goes down to the Poison Jab. Here the Hawlucha goes for Close Combat just because. At this point, the Fighting type gym knows they have the win. So the Woodhammer takes out the Hawlucha, and they go out to Surfetch just to get a clean kill with the Brave Bird. Surprised they didn't even go for First Impression there, but Torterra goes down, and a close 1-0 to the Fighting type gym because they didn't just click Acrobatics on that Torterra. Yeah, very short game, only 20 turns, but a very, very close game, 1-0 at the end of the day, or even 3-0, but honestly, like, the Pelipper's nearly dead and the Surfetch was nearly dead, so it was really basically a 1-0 at that point. Yeah. Yeah, that's all I really have to say about that battle. Personally, again, on the grass type gym side, I would have brought some more defensive bulk. I totally understand why they didn't. Very interesting plays on their part for sure. I would have tried to save my Politoed a little more, noticing that the only way you're going to stop the Hawlucha, maybe I even, is if the is if you can outspeed it. But honestly, even like Hawlucha is really stupid fast, so I don't think there was any world in which the after the Hawlucha managed to set itself up, the grass type gym could come back from that. It was going to be rough. Thinking about the rosters, I don't think they had any form of priority or anything. Otherwise, they could have done that. Yeah, really, the only way was to bring something that could take one hit from that Hawlucha and just use that to like put maybe spore it with the Amoonguss or something. That's really the only thing I can think of that could have changed up this game. Very good game to both. Anyways, thank you both players here to allowing me to commentate this. Um, I can't emphasize enough. Really close game. Like it wasn't just at the end the Hawlucha decided to be nice and went for close combat. No, because the Surfetch and the Pelipper were both nearly dead at that point. So it didn't like the Hawlucha was basically the last Pokemon. Anyways, the Heracross plays were interesting to me because even with a Scarf, the Chandelure could have just gone for two Shadow Balls, so the Politoed actually shouldn't have gone down there. Not that I think it would have made a difference, but Chandelure's base speed is already faster than Heracross, I believe. Chandelure is like 90 or 95, Heracross is 85. So there was actually no need to swap out to the Politoed there. They could have just taken out the Heracross with the second Shadow Ball. But again, I don't think it mattered. Once the Hawlucha came in, that was game on the spot. So yeah, on that note, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Link to the Discord server will be down in the description, right? As I've mentioned. And yeah, again, thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I hope you'll join us for the next one.